All right, this is a review for the quest tomorrow. So it says solve by graphing, solve the system. So you can solve for y equals mx plus b, solve for y equals mx plus b, and find that. There's also another way, because this is multiple choice, you could simply just plug in, like choice A, plug in this is your x, this is your y, and see if it adds together to be 13. This is your x and this is your y, and see if it adds together to be 13. Well, this one's very easy to check. 7 plus 6 is 13. But remember, it's also have to work on both equations to be able to do that. So if I plug 7 in right there for x, 7 times 4 is 28. 28 minus 22 is 26. It is 6. So 7, 6 works on both equations. Again, if these all three have fractions in them, which again, the answer could be a fraction. But I would always start with multiple choice questions. I would start with the easy numbers to be able to do that. Again, it says solve by graphing, but remember, multiple choice questions on tests, I don't grade the work. I just look for the answer. So in this case, I would try letter A, B, C, D, and see which one actually works. All right, number 2, it says solve by substitution. Again, this is multiple choice. What you could do is you could solve by substitution and then choose the right answer. Or you could just plug in A and see if it's the right answer. Plug in C. There's no way to plug in B. Plug in C and see if it's the right answer. Plug in D and see if it's the right answer. So, substitution means I'm going to substitute this. All of this is y, so you substitute it into the beginning equation. So 3x plus 2y equals negative 2. And you're substituting this y in. Remember, substitution means you're substituting one equation in for the other. So I took this equation and substituted it into the other equation. And then you just solve the equation for x to be able to get to your answer. So again, you could do it one of two ways. Because it's multiple choice, you could just plug in your x and your y and see if it works. Again, it's got to work on both equations. Plug in your x and your y and see if it works on both equations. Or actually solve for the x here and then plug it back in to solve for the y. All right, letter C, number 3, which of the linear equations, linear systems has no solution? So you got to look at A, B, and C, and D and find out which one has no solution. Now remember, to have no solution, that means they have to have parallel lines. They have to be parallel lines because parallel lines don't cross. So you got to find out which one of these are parallel lines, which means you got to basically find y equals mx plus b. So if you find y equals mx plus b on each of these equations, and then compare the slope, the m's. If the slopes are the same, that means they're parallel. Okay, so that's what you need to do on number 3. I would recommend doing it that way. You can also, you could use elimination to solve this, but again, I personally think y equals mx plus b is the easier way to go on this problem. So I'm recommending that you do that. All right. Says find the solution to the system by graphing. So again, you need to graph this and then find out the solution. Now let me give you a strong hint. Now it says by graphing, so you do have to graph this, but notice that the problem is lined up for elimination. Hint, hint, use elimination to find the answer. You still have to graph it, okay, but you find the answer first. So you can actually find the answer before you graph it. So here, add the x's together. That's 4x. That's negative 4. Divide by 4. And so x equals negative 1. Remember, you're trying to find a point. So the x is negative 1. When you plug negative 1 in for x, you're going to end up getting 0. So negative 1, 0 is the point that both lines will cross at. Okay? Now, you still got to graph them, by the way. So just by finding the answer, you might get 1 point, but solve by graphing, that's, the problem might be worth 6 points. So you got to solve it by graphing, and you got to graph them carefully. So solve this equation for y equals mx plus b. And you're going to end up getting negative x minus 1 and then solve this equation for y equals mx plus b, and you're going to end up getting negative 3x plus 3. So if you graph the red equation, you're going to start at positive 3, and you're going to go down 3, 1, down 3 over 1. Well, making the video, obviously, I could see the mistake. It's got to cross through that blue point, and I could see the mistake that I made right at the beginning, so let me back it up. That's positive 3x, not negative. Okay, so it starts at positive 3, and it goes up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. And if you draw the line, you can see that it crosses, that red line, it crosses through the blue point. Okay? And then, if you graph the other one, I'm going to start at negative 1. I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. If you graph this tan line, you could see that it crosses through the blue point. But again, the answer is negative 1, 0, but you solve it by graphing. Again, number 5 is the exact same thing, so I'm going to skip that problem, but you do the problem the same way. 6 says solve by substitution. Remember, if they give it to you in y equals mx plus b, then all you have to do is take this and set it equal to that, because they both equal y, which means they both equal one another. So all you have to do is take 2x minus 6, set that equal to 5x. So just minus 2x from both sides. You get 3x. And I'm at home using a mouse, so that's why this is a little sloppy. That's a negative 6. Don't forget the negative 6. Divide by 3. And then x equals negative 2. Don't stop the problem there. Remember, you're trying to find a point. All you found was the x part of the point. And if x is negative 2, plug it back into one of these two equations. I'd plug it into this one, and you're going to end up getting negative 10. All right, number 7 and 8. Again, I'm not going to do both of these. I'll just do one of these. Let me go ahead and do 8. All right, so it says you have a rectangle. And normally a rectangle is length and width. So the length of the rectangle, so this guy right here, is 8 more than 4 times the width. Notice that, 4 times the width. So instead of L, so I'm going to erase L, it's 4 times the width and 8 more than that. Okay, now with that said, it says if the perimeter, and remember what perimeter means. Perimeter means you add up all 4 sides. Well, this is W, this is 4W plus 8, so you add up all 4 sides. So if you add up all 4 sides, you're going to get 10W plus 16. And then it says it equals 46. So then you just solve for W. Once you get your W, then you just plug that back in, because this is your length, right? So once you find that answer, then plug it back in, you'll find the length, because it says what are the dimensions. So once you find the width, whatever the width is, let's say that width is 5, then 5 times 4 is 20, 20 plus 8. So whatever the width is, you got to plug it back in to find the length as well. So again, I hope that helps you. That's the basic idea of doing the quest review, knowing all those problems. Feel free to email me any questions you have.